Welcome back. I'm glad to see you again.
Happy to be here. Thanks.
It's been a few short weeks. It's felt like a few short. I guess it's only been not even a month.
Yeah, that's correct. 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, where we met at the Biohacking Summit,
That's correct.
right? Which was a blast.
It
Lots
was
of fun.
fantastic. Yes.
Great people,
Yep.
great times, great
Yep.
food, and we got to connect there. And I got to sort of pre-order one of the human chargers, which we'll speak about as we go.
Yes.
Very fun little light device, and I've been using it
Excellent.
since I got it. But you're back for the Whole Life Expo,
Yes, that's correct.
which by the time people hear this will have passed. But the Whole Life Expo, November, was it 9th to 11th?
That's correct.
Um,
Don't worry, go ahead. Ignore me in the back.
no, I know. I'm just. But yeah, so Whole Life Expo, again, this is one of those, for people that aren't in the know, if you're local, if you're in Toronto, this is one of those annual shows where you can get some good information and connect to some cool products and services and people in the more alternative wellness, biohacking, health optimization space.
Correct.
And so, you guys decided that it was worthy to come back.
Absolutely. We were really excited to come here for the Biohacker Summit. Biohacker Summit used to run that sense that every autumn they had the event in Finland, in Helsinki, and this time they decided to come here, which is fantastic. Especially for us, we are still considered to be the light therapy device, and as long as the major part of our audience and the customers are northern hemisphere, so to say, this is exactly October, November is the time when the days are getting darker, the shorter, and people start looking for help for this lack of light. And we see always that the traffic in our website is increasing in the autumn, and therefore it was fantastic to come here to Toronto, because the average Joe out there knows what is the dark winter, what is the dark time of the year, what is cold, so forth. So this our offering resonates very much with the audience. Earlier we have been in a number of the other health and biohacking events, but those has been taking place in California or Texas, which is not the best place to go to sell the additional sun in your pocket. But okay, yes, it was excellent to be here 3 weeks ago, and the experience was actually that positive that as soon as I was back home, I started looking for, is there any other events around this area this time of year, and here we are again for this Whole Life Expo.
Perfect. And we'll dive deeper and deeper into some of that stuff. But before, I want to pull back and just get a sense for yourself and your journey and how you came to be doing this work, working with a tech health company. You're based in Switzerland, I believe.
Yes.
So I'd love to just get some background context. Like, were you always into health growing up?
Yes.
Is that part of the culture?
Yep.
How did it all play out for you?
Yep. So this is a quite interesting story. I guess we all who are in this arena have the quite interesting stories how we have ended up being. There's many ways, but here we are all together. So my background is I come from Finland. I grew up there, was born there, and like our company Valke, who is making the human charger, is also the Finnish company. But the last 20 years I have been living in Switzerland. And what brought me to Switzerland was that my background is electrical engineering, so I studied electrical drives, electrical motors, transformers, not that kind of the transformers what you would be seeing in the healthcare devices, but really the industrial things. And I was working for 15 years for the electrical engineering company. And that work did bring me also to Switzerland. I was based there, and the field we were operating was mining. Mainly all my work was the mining industry. So we did deliver the electrification for the mining industry. So it means that these 15 years that I was working there, I ended up traveling around the world almost the whole 15 years. I went to 4,500 meter altitude in Peru in a copper mine, down to platinum mines in South Africa. So really across the border. And this is just want to highlight about this traveling aspect, because practically, even if I was working with the different roles during my 15 years, from the commissioning engineer to the running the related service business, it meant that while I was based in Switzerland, I had to travel a lot. These big mines that we were serving and the big customers in the mining industry are quite far away from the Switzerland. We hardly had customers in Europe, so it means that I did spend a lot of time in airplanes, a lot of time in transit, and I really knew, for example, what means jet lag. So if for a period of 10 years, almost once in month or once in 2 months period, I was traveling, so that kind of you get some experience of what is the jet lag. And that was actually this jet lag link kind of brought me to human charger also. So this was really a bit my background. So I was working in this electrical engineering field until 2012, and that was the year when my son was it was 2012 was his first birthday, and we realized that it's not really nice to be that much time away from the home. And since my wife wanted to continue working, we decided so that I hop off from the daily grind, and I took the role of the houseman, as they would say in Switzerland. So I quit and started being based at home, starting from 2012, taking care of the kids. And
you have 2 kids.
Yes, I have 2 kids.
You had a son who was 1, and then
the son is today 7, and my daughter is 5 years old.
Okay.
So she was born in 2013. But nevertheless, so 2012 I changed completely in terms of the daily activities to be at home. And during these times, a very good friend of mine got a job from the company called Valke. I didn't know the Valke at that time, and I heard that they made this ear light device, which sounded extremely strange for me. My friend was also electrical engineer, had done all his work in a healthcare environment, but ear lighting, this sounded for me very strange, and I kind of asked him a couple of times, what you are doing. So kind of I kept my distance there. And once, I think it was 2013 summer, my friend gave me actually the human charger device in a box. And I thanked him, and I took the box and put it in the shelf at home, and it stayed there for half a year. I was not going to test this. Who puts lights in the ears? This was my attitude.
Yeah.
And then come to Christmas, the Christmas, and our families were going to meet each other, and I knew that he's going to ask me that how did I like the device. So I was forced to open this box and test.
Yes.
And I did it, and I was a little bit confused because I felt that it actually somehow gave me some input that I was really a bit surprised. So this was the dark time of the year. I was living in Switzerland. Mornings were dark, and I started waking up with the device, using it in the mornings. And I really felt that there was something going on. I was not sure what, but okay, seems to be that something's going on. That was my N=1 experience of the device. And then after during this Christmas break, I heard from my friend that they are going to publish the jet lag study based on the experience what they had with the device. And then I kind of connected the dots that okay, the light, hey, I knew what is definitely what was a jet lag here. Actually, there might be something serious behind this whole business.
Yeah.
And I gave, let's say that I gave the light an opportunity. So I started studying, I started using, I started tinkering around, and I recognized that wow, this is really something which can impact people, and people should know about this. I immediately reflected my 15 years flying around, jet lagged, dozing off in airports, and I realized that if I would have had this device with me, it could have been a completely different experience. The life could have been different. And after this information that the study is coming, I had the opportunity to travel across the Atlantic. So having the trip with the serious jet lag. There was
How many time zones?
I went to California.
Okay.
So that means that the time difference between Switzerland was 9 hours.
Okay.
And I was using the device and I was using it based on the app which is giving you the time when to use it. So I was really following it very, very carefully. And when I came back, I was sold because I absolutely didn't have any feeling of the jet lag. And at the same time, I knew what the jet lag was, how it has impacted me earlier.
Yeah.
And that moment, I more or less didn't give my friend opportunity to continue without me being part of the team. And I recommended him that we should now start promoting this device to the biohacking community. And that time I had also kind of as a hobby basis, learned a lot about the biohacking, health things, and that was my entry to do what I'm doing now. So my friend asked me to help, and here I am. Today I work as a brand ambassador, and my tasks are mainly this outreach, and especially for the North America market. So when we come to the trade shows or we try to connect to the influencers or so forth. So this is my job to do.
Very cool. Very cool. And yeah, for anyone who's been through a jet lag experience, right, you know how much of a drain that can be and how much of a struggle. I've talked to friends who a week after they're back from their trip, they're still not really synced up and feeling good.
Yes.
Right? So to be able to use light, something which is so fundamental, right? And so, for the most part, free of negative side effects.
Yes.
It's not like you're taking uppers or any sort of thing to adjust chemicals and so forth. You're just giving these signals that nature is always giving us.
Yeah, the nature is a very good remark. I want to highlight also the fact that if anyone is able to get the light in the form of that light therapy device which is up in the sky called sun, please do your sun needs from the sun itself. Don't even think about any devices. But unfortunately, this is not always possible, and therefore there's these alternative solutions. But definitely, if you can get your morning sun and sync yourself really with the sun which is in the sky, please do that. And then these other ones are just trying to help you to get to the better page.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd seen in the past, like they call them S.A.D lights or happy lights.
Yes.
That you sit in front of or you have running or whatever, it's like a bright LED sort of a thing.
Yes.
Which definitely works, definitely helps wake you up. I'm curious why Valky and the company, why they went for the headset and the ears and that approach.
Yes.
Instead of these other, options.
Yes, this is the good question. There's a quite interesting story behind, and this was more than 10 years ago. Two guys living in the north part of the Finland in a city called Oulu. And by the way, our company's headquarters and the assembly line and factory is still there. So
how do you spell that city?
Oulu.
Oulu.
O-U-L-U.
O-U-L-U. Okay.
Oulu. And that is about 150 kilometers from the Arctic Circle. So this is really the north part of the Finland, where you definitely have the dark winters. And these two guys living there, friends, and really started having issues with this darkness, and really having the symptoms of the feeling really down during the winter time. And one of them was engineer, and he started making the plan that how he would install these light panels and the bright lights all around his house. And his friend was a biologist, and at that time he had read about animal studies where you had impacted the brain of the mouse by the extraocular light. And this was kind of the conversation ongoing, and this engineer did complain for his friend that how expensive it is now to install all these lights. And
just to be sure, you said extra-auricular, right? As in ear?
Extraocular. I said extra. Yeah, that's
what.
Yeah.
Okay. So into the eyes then.
Yeah, extraocular means that the outside of the eyes.
Okay.
So ocular and extraocular.
Okay.
Yeah. So this installation was starting to see very expensive, and the biologist was saying that why you actually even think about installing the lights around the house, because the key point is that we need to get that light on the brain. And actually I think that it was very fast from that remark when they realized that there's some holes in the head, ear canals. If you beam there the bright light, maybe you can affect to the brain. And these animal studies and another studies at that time had shown that there are these photoreceptors. There's some proteins which can be stimulated by the light, even if the light is not going through the eyes. And that was the starting point. And the guys made the prototype. They started using the device themselves. They let the friends to use it, and they started getting these remarkable feedback that people actually started getting the benefit out of this. And so that was the kind of the origin story for the company, how it came about. So definitely the first problem what the guy started solving was this mood during the winter time. And later then these other modalities like jet lag has come in the picture, but that was the origin story, so to say.
Very cool. Yeah, I think for me at least, I didn't fully appreciate how much of a drain seasonal affective disorder was having on me. I mean, because as a kid, I enjoyed the winter because snow and play and sledding and all these fun outdoor activities. And then going into teenage and early 20s and 20s and being working and all these different things, and having those days that you'd wake up and it's dark, and you go to work, and then you leave and it's dark, and it's like, where's the sun? Where's the light? And it just weighs on you and your energy, and you got to pull yourself out of bed in the morning. And at that point, I wasn't a coffee drinker or anything like that, so I'm just trying to get myself energized naturally. I started playing with LEDs in the morning, which had some effect. They weren't super bright, but they had some effect. But then, for me, the baseline, I've used like fish oil and vitamin D from the nutritional side, which is my background, of course, the nutrition side. And with those two things in good doses, I can maintain a pretty good mood and energy through the winter.
Yes.
And then last year, I started playing more with the light and really seeing how important this is, and learning about different experts and books and research talking about how, everything from our hormones to our metabolism to, of course, our mood is all linked with our circadian rhythm. Right? And it's about keeping those things coupled or linked up in a sustainable, harmonious way that really keeps us as feeling good and feeling stable, right? And so I'm in Canada for most of the winter. I'm working on changing that so I can be more in the southern hemisphere, more of the time in the winter. But it just made sense. It just made sense. And then I got to try the device at the summit, and I definitely noticed a slight, like I feel slightly uplifted.
Okay,
right?
exactly.
And but it's interesting just seeing where, and the summit was a great example of this, how many companies there were some sort of light,
Yes.
laser light, sound, everything seems to be going into this very like Star Trek-esque, like light and vibration direction.
Yes. Definitely, this whole field is having some kind of the big move at the moment, and our company Valke has been around more than 10 years now. The first devices prototypes came out around 2009 2010, and now afterwards, or to say, I almost feel that the guys were that almost too early, because then they had to not only to fight against this notion of this crazy idea that you put light through your ear canals to the brain. What the hell is that?
Yeah.
But generally, the light was, I think, that they not so much appreciated, say, almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and today you see the lots of different players coming into the market, which is absolutely great. And it's people talk more about the light. You see lots of studies studies are coming, and I'm very excited always. I think my brain is still so much engineer brain that I want to see some measurements and some graphs and so forth. So that's very interesting today to see that many of the studies are really translating the let's say that the things which we might have thought it's maybe this and that, that you get the uplifting feeling about doing this, but today we get the explanation about what hormones are affecting, what is the mechanism of action, and you really get this more like translated to science. And this is for me very, very nice at the moment to read, and this is also the way how to convey the results and the message to the broader audience. And I think that there's so much still what we can learn from the light, and especially it's actually quite interesting if you dig a little bit deeper. You realize that we don't know that much about the light and how it affects and what are these mechanism action. It's absolutely not completely clarified, for example, that even when the light hits in your retina and what happens afterwards. There is still there also a little bit like question marks and assumptions which need to be still work upon. So this is just to say that we have not reached any kind of the end point in terms of what we can learn. And today the different new devices are making it much more easier to study the impacts and to communicate the results. And this is where we are also very happy to be around, because the more people talk about light, then it also gives us opportunity to give louder voice for our message also.
Yeah, and I mean, I imagine for a lot of people listening or watching this or in their day-to-day, they pretty much just think about sunshine and vitamin D.
Yes.
And that's where it ends.
Yes.
And even there, most people are fairly not getting enough.
Exactly.
Right? And I'm curious, how when we talked about a bit about the jet lag, I know you and I have gone back and forth about using it in the morning, using it while meditating.
Yes.
That's been my habit recently.
Yes.
I'll wake up, put it in, meditate for 15 minutes or so.
Yes.
The cycle runs for 12,
Yes.
which is convenient, and then continue with my morning routine.
Yes.
Right? And I'm also doing it in the afternoons, which is nice. So instead of reaching for like a coffee at 3 p.m., I can like lie down and then charge myself up a little bit. And again, I get that little bit of uplifting, that little bit of clarity, energy.
Yeah, so this is maybe a good time to a little bit talk about the for how do you actually can use the device.
Yeah, like
and
examples.
actually maybe we don't need to necessarily not only talk about, but I just now
Do a
took
little live
my
demo.
own human charger from my pocket. So people who cannot see us, I'm just now unrolling this LED set around from this battery pack main unit. And
Well, and you just came in from Switzerland last night, so
yes,
you've
that's
got some
correct.
sort of time differential. So
Yes,
this is very,
yes, I have been already using it today. So device is simple as it looks. We have this main unit, and I just plug these earbuds on, and we have here the two LEDs, and I have here bit of the pro tip. In our LED set, you have the small figure here. Our logo can be seen here at the top of this LED set, and depending of the schedule, you might be want to use these also when you are in an airplane. And you know the cabin, when the cabin is dark, any kind of the light is really shiny light there, and I have put the black tape here. I want to really bit keep it down when I'm using it, not to be distracted too much people. So I have put here the black tapes that the light is not going out at all. So how does it work then? So I just plug these earbuds on. I push the button, and now for next 12 minutes through the eardrum, through the ear structure, and the amount of the light will reach the brain. And since we have these light sensitive proteins, opsins all around the brain, we can affect on them, and as an outcome you get this the uplifting mood, and the kind of the sometimes I explain that it's kind of the slap on the face, kind of the for you to get a little bit more boosted.
Yeah, I mean, and people watching, think about that feeling when you are waking up in a dark place. Maybe you had blackout curtains, whatever it was. You had a good sleep, and you wake up, and if the sun's shining bright, and boom, that first moment when it hits your eyes, right? It's that shifting, that awakening, that alert sort of feeling, right? That is just like easy, simple, on demand.
Yes. So maybe a couple of comments still about the device itself. So we have these LED sets are marked L and R, left and right. It is the absolutely the same light, but as it just fits nicer. The ergonomics is done so that the L goes to left and right. So this is how it. And one kind of the nice detail is also that also, by the way, this device comes with the 4 different sizes of these earbud fittings, so everybody should be able to find the nice fitting silicone, so that it stays nicely. And the one interesting detail is that there's one hole in the silicone, that means that when you put this on, we are not blocking completely the ear canal. So that's why, for example, I don't get this claustrophobic feeling when I put something in ears. I can still have a conversation, and this kind of feels pretty normal.
Oh, you can hear still?
Absolutely. So this I can hear through normal, but this is at the moment emitting only the light. So maybe the audio alternative option comes later, but in this device is absolutely the just a LED set. So how you can use it? So you already mentioned that in the mornings, and if you kind of use the device against beating the feeling in the winter time, we recommend that you start with one dose within 1 or 2 hours after waking up. That's a nice way to get the feeling. For some reason we don't completely know, there's about 30% of the users who are using the device for this mood lifting during the winter time. They find the better results if they are using sometime during the afternoon. We don't completely know why it is like that, but seems to be that this is just to say that if you try it in the mornings and you don't see any impact, it's maybe worth trying in the afternoons also. Then another question which obviously many times comes is that how should you should feel the impact or difference.
Yeah.
And generally you should give the device anything from the 3-4 days to maybe 2 weeks time, trial time, before you draw the conclusion that does it help for you or not. Although I have seen many people who try it once and after just 12 minutes they are just they cannot describe the feeling because they got such an impact. They feel so uplifted from that, but that is not everybody.
Yeah.
So basically, you should be consistent with time. It makes sense to be trying the device around same time of the day, within up to this 2 weeks time.
Yep.
And then adapt from there. So this is this kind of the winter blues beating schedule what you could use.
Yeah.
Then another thing is what you mentioned is exactly this afternoon. You feel afternoon, you feel a little bit sluggish, and instead of getting into a coffee game, you could try this and give a little bit this slap in the face like I was telling, and that seems to be very popular. We have quite a number of the different sports guys, for example, ice hockey players using the device, and in their schedule they normally take some kind of the afternoon nap, and before either the afternoon training or evening training or the game, and it seems to be also very useful for the immediately after this nap to get the light into the game, so to say. And that seems to be the one way to use it also. Then of course we have these poor guys who have to work during the night time. So people are using the device, the beating the feeling in the night time for the night shift. This is definitely the group who is using. And then of course we come to this jet lag use. And we have the app. You can go your app store. You look for Human Charger and you can download the free app. And there either you can it works so that you put there your flight details, and it gives you the schedule when you should be using. So it alerts you when it's a time to use, and this is it works independently from the device, but it's kind of gives you the alarm, and if you allow the notifications on your phone, it gives you the small buzz that now it's human charging time.
And so, for example, either like your trip currently, or say someone's going from the UK to California regularly, or some sort of trip like that where they're crossing multiple time zones. What's sort of the base, or the example?
The logic is that basically that you are using the Human Charger during that time when your body is still in your old place of origin time zone, but in your new place or en route to there, you are still in a situation where it's not good to sleep. Example is that today, for example, I will start having the alerts starting 3 p.m. here the local time, and we have at the moment to Switzerland I think 7 hours time difference. So that means that I came in yesterday, and today here in Toronto 3 p.m. it will be 10 p.m. in Switzerland. So my body starts to messaging me that Jari, now it's time to go to sleep.
Yes.
But I'm here, it's still early afternoon, I don't want to go to sleep. I use Human Charger 3 o'clock once. So I give myself a slap in the face and I say, Jari, don't sleep yet. Then 5 o'clock comes another alert. After 2 hours comes another alert. Again, Jari, don't go to sleep. Remember, we are not taking away the need to sleep. You still need to sleep. But we are helping you to shift that moment when you go to sleep. That is very important. Sometimes people get mixed that you use the device or the supplement to avoid the need to sleep, but that is, you still need to sleep. Yeah. We all know by now, I hope everybody knows how important sleep is.
Yes.
And therefore we want to sleep, but we help you to sleep in a correct time. So I had the 3 o'clock slap, 5 o'clock slap, and then next comes a 7 o'clock slap. And also there's the program is built up so that we are giving also the fourth notification. In my case, this would be then 9 o'clock. And it depends. If I'm already ready to go to sleep 9 o'clock, I'm not anymore necessarily stimulated. But for example, if I would be in a dinner still 9 o'clock and I would be maybe going to bed after 10 o'clock, I might still give myself the bit of the stimulation to stay awake, but it is a little bit depends. So within this app we get these 4 moments, and this is exactly this night time what my body would like to do back home in Switzerland. So I'm stimulating myself until it's evening here, and then I finish the stimulation and I let myself to go to sleep. So this is basically the logic. So if you for example, you don't have your phone with you, or don't have the app, and you think, oh, when I should be using, the kind of the good rule of thumb is that you should be using around that time when your place of origin, where you came from, would be the night time. So that is the logic how we have built up it. And then comes these questions. First of all, why 12 minutes and why 4 times? So 12 minutes we did find out during when we were making the studies for the device that that is kind of the effective dose. We see that you need about 6 minutes stimulation before you start seeing the effect, and you kind of build up to 12 minutes, and after that it doesn't necessarily bring you that much more. So the 12 is kind of the average. None of these numbers are super sharp in terms of the millisecond and so forth, but that seems to be the very good duration for the device, for the light. And then why after 2 hours we have also find out that this most impactful moment is this 2 next hours after the use, and then it's already worth giving you the next stimulation. And since we have done all our test within this kind of the 4 times a day regime, we recommend that you use up to 4 times a day. The device is in Europe certified as a medical device, and of course we need to follow there also the regulation in terms of that we give out the advice, the uses as we have been testing it. And so there was a reason for the 12 minutes and why up to 4 times. And then people, of course, asked that, hey, can I use more? Can I use push immediately another 12 minutes? And by the way, a small signal came out, and now this 12 minutes is done, and I didn't need to do anything. I just I can unplug, and I'm now good to go for the next 2 hours. By the way, jumping still, when you use the device, you get the nice warm sensation. These earbuds are getting a little bit warm, and since your ears are extremely sensitive in terms of the temperature, so you will feel it immediately as a nice warm feeling. It won't get hot. You are not going to get burned. And of course the light is also ultraviolet free, so we are not cooking anything. So what actually is then the negative impact? What can go wrong, so to say? That this is another question.
You overdosed or something.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I have tried to overdose myself with the device, and I didn't manage to find some kind of the outcome that was not bearable anymore. But some people who are sensitive to light might get the feeling like what you would get if you stand a long time in the sunshine. So a bit of the dizziness kind of the slight headache we have been hearing, and that is more or less the negative feedback what we have heard. And for those persons who for whom this intensity of the light could be too much, we have the option that you can bring the intensity down to 75, 50 or 25%, and that you can adjust by pushing the button in at the beginning. But like I told, for the most of the people, this standard intensity for 12 minutes is absolutely correct and works best.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, I just love seeing people put together these more holistic protocols and more integrative ways to adapt to their environment, right? Because health is so much about adaptation, right? It's about how can you deal with the stresses that come up, in this case, light stress or lack of light stress, and then travel, stress, essentially. And to have things that are simple and integrate into all of what someone might already do, right? Because I know for myself, my baseline, and a lot of people in the biohacking space, it's about getting grounded, go barefoot, go in the water barefoot, go on some grass, exercise, those type of things that can also help with adapting to a new area, new time zone, new light cycles, whatever it is. And this just plugs in perfectly. In addition, it's not like I have to go and do some separate thing.
Brian,
I don't have to go to some separate place.
That's the extremely important point, and I think that today the people would use word stacking.
Yes.
So like anything else, I think generally everyone should have the attitude that you should try to put as many as possible things to support you in your goal reach, in order to reach your goal. Then you should not only use one thing. And same thing is with this if you try to beat the jet lag, or you try to beat the winter blues during the winter time, you should not only use one strategy, but you should put many strategies together, and as a combined effect, then you would most likely have a higher probability to reach what you try to reach. And what I'm trying to tell here is that if option 1 brings you in a certain level, option 2 brings a little bit higher, then the third might be exactly the one which brings you above the certain threshold and make the huge difference. And today, if we are talking about the biohacking, there's so many different things, easy and cheap things what you can do in order to improve your situation, that it's a fool's game if you are not if you try to use only one thing, use only human charger to helping you with the winter time, or only use human charger trying to help you with dealing with the effect of the jet lag. You should really combine as many strategies as you can, as you were pointing out.
Totally. And yeah, I mean, I see for myself, I haven't done any big time zone travel since I've started, but I'm looking forward to when I do, and to be able to access that part of the app, because right now I'm sort of just morning, afternoon, maybe in the evening, because oftentimes I'll work events, right? I'm either speaking or doing healing work or something, and it's going until 11, 12 at night, which usually I'd be in sleep by 10, 10:30, right? So I'm even trying it in the evening, just as another alternative to not use necessarily chemical, alerts, but different signaling.
Yeah, but even for you, as not crossing so often the time zones, I think you actually do suffer regular basis jet lag, namely social jet lag. You stay up in the wee hours, come home for 5 a.m. and try to next day act like a normal person. No one can do it. You have the effect. You didn't go anywhere, but you will have a similar effects as you would have the crossing the time zone. Of course, you never left your home base, but still you are dealing with the similar issues. And there, I think that even becomes more important that you realize that there is ways, there is strategies that can help you and they are, as we talk, simple: drinking water, getting this morning sunlight one way or another, being grounded one way or another, and you don't. Some of these things might be going in the direction that the people raise their eyebrow that, oh, what is this grounding? And you don't need to necessarily be a big believer of the things, but just try yourself, and as a cumulative effect, you might be surprised. This is maybe the message we should be always remind to tell to the people.
Yeah, and I love, it's something that Wim Hof often says, and the Iceman. If you've never heard of Wim Hof, just Google WIMHOF. Fantastic stuff. But his whole thing is feeling is knowing, right? Feeling is knowing. Get out of the head, get into your body, try something, and see how you feel, right? Because that's the best way to determine the effect, right? Is your own experiment.
This Wim story is amazing, and this is a very good example about this. That the first came the findings in terms of the feelings. He just went to the cold water and started seeing and only these days you start having the science and literature and measurement showing the impacts. Yeah, the whole Wim, what he has been doing, it's a very good example of this, what you said, you feel. And this goes, I mean, we know many things, like if you are a little bit stuck with your thinking, stretch a little bit, go for a walk outside, get the fresh air, you feel better. And today we have the explanation what kind of the stimulation comes from there, what kind of the hormonal effects are taking place. You can see the curves, you can make the measurements, and that is explains just what we already knew earlier. Yeah. This is the nice combination of this. We knew, we felt, and now we can read that also in the paper that it is like that.
Yeah, which is, it's great for the scientifically minded, and the medical community always wants to see the studies. Where are the studies? I want to see the data, and those are fine and good. And yet, I'm not one to have people wait until the data catches up for us to take action, right? Because, you see even today with many various diseases, that philosophy is causing a lot of suffering, right? Because we have these alternative therapies and these experimental therapies that aren't approved. So when, a young cancer patient comes in, they can't give them the best of the best new cutting edge stuff because it's not approved. And it's just like insanity. It's like, come on, guys, let's empower people who want to feel better to do so with what we understand to be the best, safest methods at the time, right? So that's just my philosophy. I don't want to rant too much about health philosophy and this and that. But I did want to ask you, just for my own interest, studying North American psychology and North American consumerism and oftentimes greed and this not enoughness, always reaching for something else, and not valuing, the slowing down and having a long meal with wine and friends and these type of things that are typically more European or more, Central American. I'm curious from your perspective, in terms of just thinking about wellness and health and those things in general, is that just built into the people over there? Is there a more connection to nature? What do you think it is, and or what are some maybe interesting contrasts that you see, if you have seen, between how people in Europe think about health and think about life and work versus over here?
Yes. I guess there would be so many different ways to answer it, and I must highlight also the fact that the Europe is a big place, and you have a different people also in Europe. So what I'm of course talking is from my Finnish perspective, Finnish-Swiss perspective, and maybe one way to answer to your question is that it's some things are built in a culture. I guess in a different way, and same way we need to also highlight that there's not only one North American way, there's not only one Canadian way. I'm sure that here is also the different areas people value different things.
Definitely.
But now if we are now here talking about the biohacking, and we see that the people are talking about fresh ingredients, fresh things from the forest, picking up things, and these are kind of the biohacks, and you can go to the courses, and people are introduced to the how to use the raw things from the picking up yourself and so forth. And if I look back what our family did when I was growing up, we, of course, in Finland, everybody is somehow having a summer house. We had also the summer house and still have in an island in a lake. So we spent all summers and many times also winter time there in a cottage. And that means that in autumn you went to pick up the berries, you went to pick up the mushrooms. I remember I hated this. You go and spend hours there, the mosquitoes are eating, and you get these blueberries, and then you go home and you need to clean this stuff before you put it in the freezer. I was not thinking that I'm here biohacking. This is the fresh, green, new way to do things. This was what we have done forever.
Yeah.
Still today, when my mother come from Finland, visit us in Switzerland, she always brings the cantarellis, the mushrooms that she has dried herself from the forest.
Wow.
And this is kind of the basis. And then you reflect to this the maybe the question what you just said, what is the difference. So I think that it comes to the how you have been exposed to things in your life. And I think that many of my friends and the people who are now active in the biohacking world also recognize also maybe in their own life that maybe 10 to 30, 40 years ago what we did in childhood, we might have started behaving like your North American counterpart who was not exposed to things, who was used to who goes to pick up just the stuff from the freezer department of the grocery store, and you kind of were cut from this origin, so to say, and we are now getting maybe a little bit back to that. So maybe this is my long-winded way to answer that. I think that it depends. I think from the culturally how you have been grown up and you appreciate things. So maybe this is the one point of view.
Very cool, very cool. Another thing that I always like to ask folks is, through your own journeys, health, personal development, whatever it is, or whatever it's been, what would be, maybe 3 resources, books, documentaries, teachers that for you at some point, were really impactful?
Yes.
That you might offer listeners to take a deeper dive?
Yeah, I think that I have actually I'm in a good position to answer that question in that sense that I kind of even though in my background I don't have the dramatic health event which changed my life completely, but I have this dramatic lifestyle change event this 2012 when I quit my day job and from this engineering company and started spending time at home. So this is kind of the moment for my life when things were before and after. And some learnings between this 2012 and this moment when I'm here, November 2018, here in Toronto. The biggest takeaway for me, what I have learned, and this is now my way to answer your question. Number one is that you need to take care of yourself. And I even say that was the biggest takeaway for me really during these 4 years which I spent fully with 2 kids at home, recognizing that if you are not taking care of yourself, you are not able to provide the care for the others. So if you let yourself to drop, then nobody doesn't have a good time. So really this almost, I recognize that it may sound even a bit of the egoistic answer, but it's so important that you value your well-being and you take care of yourself. So this is the number one takeaway.
Yes.
And then I say a couple of books and one book which somehow opened my eyes for this kind of the way to improve your life is definitely a book called Your Brain at Work by David Rock. And I have the hard copy version of it and also the audiobook, and at least once a year I listen this audiobook, and I find that just extremely good. It's kind of it's a story, but not only story. Practically it goes through the day of the family with 2 kids, and it gives from the breakfast until the moment they are going to sleep, they give 2 versions of the events. They get the normal version, how things happen and how things could have happened if you would have known yourself better in terms of how your brain behaves. So I find it that was kind of the opening for me, that hey, you can really impact, and there's so much good stuff in that book that really I cannot recommend enough. So
Your Brain at Work.
Yes, by David Rock.
Okay, noted.
And another book somehow, and this is quite funny also in that sense, that before this year 2012, I didn't know that there existed a field called personal development. This was absolutely not for me. I only looked business books or then some sports stuff maybe, but I didn't know that even existed. And during my travels, let's say that the last 2-3 years before I did quit this engineering job, I had a little bit started peeking around in the airports in the summer. I think it was June. No, it was June 2012. I went to visit a customer in Sweden, and in Stockholm airport, Arlanda, I knew that will be my last flight home, and then I'm free from the job, so to say. So I said that, okay, I buy this funny book. Let's see what is it all about. And after reading that book, that kind of opened my eyes also in that sense, and introduced me to this personal development world. And of course, that's the own rabbit hole itself, which it's enormous. It's kind of the feeling that you are living yourself here under the some surface of the water, and then you go and you see, what? And that was for my kind of the introductory later to find out all the other great authors within the scene. So that would be the answer. So take care of yourself. The Brain at Work by David Rock, and the Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma. Those are my 3 inputs.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love it. And that one, the Sharma, he's come up quite a bit in my conversations with folks. That's been a popular one. But that the Brain at Work is the first time I've heard of that one. So I'll have to look into the audio for that and see if I'm treating my brain accordingly.
You definitely will enjoy the book. I cannot even upsell it, even if I'm so enthusiastic. It won't disappoint you. I'm 100% sure.
Okay, well, okay. I know it's going into my list. Another thing that I always ask folks is, what's something that you either recently or maybe currently are looking to let go of or transcend? Maybe an old habit or a limiting belief, a thought form, something like that. Is there anything that comes up for you that you're working on or have recently sort of transcended?
Yeah, this is maybe a bit funny way to answer is that, but it seems to be that in our family we are going to within next month get a dog. And I have always considered myself absolutely the not animal friendly person and not the one who would have a dog in a house. So since this is not the kind of the sudden change of mind kind of a thing, we have been talking this longer time and still continue talking and doing so, I'm seeing myself changing from this, I would not say that I'm a dog hater, but I definitely was not the animal person. So I'm now observing myself changing, finding the positive things about the situation, and finding myself looking for the dog training manuals and so forth. So that is actually quite interesting to almost step back from myself and look at the, hey, what's happening here? You are really changing, and this is maybe just a detail that, okay, we are bringing the dog to the family, which is the big change. But if we look it in the little bit the bigger picture, is that it gives maybe a proof or the some kind of the realization that you can really change. And this is maybe what I'm recognizing of myself, that from this, for sure not a dog person, to what can we do now with this dog person changing? So that is happening.
Very cool, very cool. And it might sound like a trivial example for folks, but I think it is illustrative of that, right? Is that regardless of your preferences or what you think you don't like or don't want, so much of that is just a story. It's just a story running for whatever reason, and oftentimes it will cut us off from some really amazing experiences and opportunities and things that can enrich our lives. Right? So I love that example. It's like, it just makes sense, right? It makes sense, and I hope that it allows, if you're listening, if that allows you to get more open and fluid with like who you think you are and who you think you have to be and how you think you have to live, because we get to decide that, right? Which really goes into my last and closing question, which is when you hear the words redefining reality, which is the name of the show, what does that bring up inside of you?
What brings the redefining the reality? Somehow I go the direction of that you define it yourself. You can impact. We earlier somehow mentioned today that this kind of the connectivity, there's no borders. You can be wherever. So in that terms of the redefining, there's no really borders. It's up to you. To realize that be careful what you are wishing, because it might happen. It's actually not just like some kind of the moving the lips and the words are coming out. This is actually today almost anything is possible. So that is maybe my way to answer, is that you can really impact your reality.
Yeah, I dig it. I feel it. Me and Colin were talking about it beforehand, and yeah, it really feels like nowadays more and more people are getting that.
Yes.
And it allows, this ecosystem of products, people, information, experiences, wellness to grow and to combine and to become an unstoppable force, a movement for good things, right? And more harmony, more nature connection, more health, more energy, yes. All the good things that I know, I hold dear, and folks like yourself are championing out in the world.
Exactly.
So I want to thank you for doing that, and just acknowledge you for the journey you've been on, and the father and the man and the adventurer and tinkerer that you are, right? And helping to spread this message to more people, because it's definitely having an awesome impact. And for people who want to learn more or check it out, I know that we're going to hook them up with a nice little discount code.
That's correct.
Right? Which is, I think, going to be Hardy20.
That's correct.
So anyone listening, go in the show notes. All the show notes will be at bryanhardy.ca/human charger. bryanhardy.ca/human charger. And everything will, books, links, other podcasts and things, everything will be linked there. And then there'll be a link to check out the Human Charger website. And if you want to get one, invest in one, which if you're a high performer or someone who travels a lot or someone who has not been able to beat the winter blues, then I highly suggest looking into it, because it can do a lot for you. And you'll be able to save 20%, which is very generous of you guys, and I appreciate. So if that interests you, definitely hit it up. And like I said, this will air after the Whole Life show, but once we jump off here, I want to do a little bit of social media and get people that are going to the Whole Life to come and swing by our booth. But other than that, is there anything you want to just end with?
Just to say thanks for the opportunity. This was just absolutely fantastic. And if you want to learn more about the Human Charger, our webpage is humancharger.com. And like Bryan was saying, the discount code and everything is then working there. So that's all.
Perfect. Jari, thank you so much. This has been great.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you all for listening. You know, if you appreciated this, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe and forward it. Share it with someone in your life who could benefit from this information. It is vital that we share what works and that we do this and we integrate and uplift the energy and the health of our community. So thank you for tuning in. Until next time, be well.